It was like hell. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm making this video. I cannot believe I'm making this video. I wrote like so many notes so that I could remember everything that I want to say, because I don't know, I'm nervous a little bit to even talk about everything, just because I feel like I'm sharing like a really personal part of my life. So this is definitely going to be like a vulnerable video, and I'm just gonna try and like, I don't know, I'm just gonna do my best to tell you guys basically what my full fitness journey has been. It's been a long journey, because I'm currently 28 and I really started working out when I was in middle school, so it's been a long time. Obviously my channel's kind of going towards kind of focusing on my fitness, because right now I'm really focused on that part of my life. I'm like locked in right now, for lack of better word, but I'm just taking my fitness journey really seriously, and I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. I am really at peace with where I'm at right now, but it hasn't always been like that. So I just thought I'd share with you guys kind of like where like my fitness journey has been, because although it may seem like I'm just starting to get into fitness, in all honesty, I've been into fitness for a very long time. Okay, so let's get into it. So my weight has always fluctuated. Like I don't remember like long periods of being small or like long periods of being big. Like it's always been like in 3 to 4 year increments. I was like big, or then I was small, and then so on. So I've always just been like really, like my weight has just always fluctuated. Obviously in my younger adolescent years, I was like pretty average, normal size up until like 5th to 6th grade. Once I got to like 5th or 6th grade, I remember like looking at pictures of myself and kind of like thinking like I'm like chubby. But then I remember going to the doctors with my mom once, and the doctor was like, she said this in front of my mom, like, yeah, you guys need to like put her in sports, because she's basically, I was like overweight for my age and my size, and I keep in mind I'm like pretty short, so I can gain weight really easily. So I remember that. And then once I got into like middle school, I was like the first time I really started to become conscious, I guess, of like my weight, because obviously I feel like it's just an age where you start to compare yourself to other people, and people in my life like close to me. This was around the time where like I started to get like comments, like microaggressive comments about my weight, like my mom just being like, yeah, you don't need to eat that, or like just little things like that. And so around 7th to 8th grade, I was just really aware now at this point that I was big, and I was starting to compare myself to others, and it was really, and like the comments that people would make was really starting to affect like my mental health. And it was just like, I feel like this was the beginning of like me like not really liking my body. And so why am I gonna cry about this right now? Once I got to 8th grade, oh my god, don't cry, Melissa. By the time I'd gotten to 8th grade, my oldest brother, started working at the YMCA, and one of the benefits that you get when you work at the YMCA is that you and all of your family can basically you have access to the YMCA gym for free. And so they would invite me to go with them, which now looking back, that probably didn't help my mental health, because I was already, you know, having like negative thoughts about my body image. But I started going to the gym, and obviously when you're like new, you don't know how to use like I didn't know anything about like weightlifting. And keep in mind, this is like early 2000s. This was probably like 2007, or so. Like social media was like just starting to kick off, so we didn't have like all these fitness influencers like teaching you how to use weights, teaching you good form. Like there was none of that. It was basically like you would learn either through doing your own research or like reading. And so at this point, I was like in 8th grade. I think I was already about to start going into my freshman year of high school, and I had this thought in my head like, I'm gonna lose weight before I get into high school. Like I'm not gonna go into high school with like, I don't want to be overweight, and I don't want to be big when I get into high school. And so I basically spent like the last semester of my 8th grade year, if I remember correctly, just doing cardio. Like every day that I went to the gym, all I knew to do was cardio. So I would just do like running, I would do the Stairmasters, like religiously do the Stairmasters, and I did end up losing quite a bit of weight. I think it was also partially due to the fact that I was going through puberty, and so I was just getting a little bit taller, and so I ended up getting like, I lost weight, but I wasn't super skinny. So I still wasn't really happy with my body. And then, so basically throughout my entire high school experience, I was just doing like cardio whenever I could go to the gym. But I was never really consistent with my working out, right? Because by this point I had a job. I started working, I was 15. So I had a job. I had a social life. Like I wanted to hang out with my friends. And on top of that, I obviously had to be at school and then do my schoolwork after school. And that just kind of became like a cycle throughout my entire fitness journey up until recently. But I was never really consistent. So basically all throughout high school, I'm doing cardio. I ended up getting really small by the time that I got to like my first couple of years in college. I remember at the time I was like super duper tiny. Then by around 2016, I had already graduated high school. I was in college probably at this point for like a year and a half to 2 years, and by this point social media and like fitness influence had completely like kicked off. People in my personal life, like my brothers, were really starting to get into lifting. This is when we started to see like Gymshark started to become kind of a thing, and like Gymshark influencers in 2016 was like the beginning of that. And so at this point I was actually working at the YMCA gym where I first started working out. I was working there. So because I had access to the gym and we had influencers now, and I started to like learn more about weightlifting, this is around the time when I started to do weightlift training, and I kind of stopped doing cardio. So I kind of switched from like more like you know, like HIIT cardiovascular to weightlifting. Another thing that changed by this point was that I was now also fully vegan. Right now, present tense, I'm vegetarian, but at that point, but at that time I had become fully vegan, and I still had no idea about like nutrition and what you needed to eat in order to gain muscle. And obviously things have evolved since, you know, 2016. Now people talk more about that stuff openly, but back then like most influencers would just post like their workouts, and they wouldn't really post like what they were eating. And so I was weightlifting like 4 to 5 times a week, sometimes at one point probably 6 times a week, but I was still not happy, and I had no clue that the reason why I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted was because I wasn't eating enough. Basically I was super duper skinny. I think I was like a size 2, and like my weight at this point was fluctuating between like 120 to 130 pounds. Like that was my average weight. I never went over 130 pounds pretty much until after I graduated college. So that was kind of basically my entire college career. I was doing weightlifting, very little cardio. I was still super duper small, and my nutrition wasn't supplementing the amount of workouts that I was doing. I was not eating enough, but also I wasn't being really consistent because every semester, you know, your school schedule changes, and so every semester basically I had to find a different place to fit the gym into, and it just like depending on like how the day went, how much schoolwork I had, it was like all of these other factors, all these other things that I felt like I had to factor in. Then 2020 happened. As we all know, COVID happened, gyms closed, my classes were now all online, and so I didn't have like that responsibility to be physically at a class at all times. And my brothers, like I said, had been into fitness already, and so we had like a little at-home gym. And if you watch some of my way old fitness videos from 2020, you will see that I was working out outside, and so that's kind of what I did for that year. I was still pretty small, but I think at this point, because I was being more consistent, I did start to see a little bit of muscle growth. And then by the end of 2020, I had moved out of my parents' house, which for me personally, it was not a great environment for me living at my parents' house. It just wasn't a good place for me. And so mentally, once I moved to my parents' house, things just got so much better. And I feel like this was a really big part of like my transformation. And so between the end of 2020 and maybe like June of 2021, I was probably the happiest that I had ever been in my entire life. It was like the first time that I felt like at peace. Like I wasn't in a toxic environment anymore. I was living on my own with my boyfriend, and it just everything just felt like this is like all of my anxiety, my stress had just like melted off of me for those first 6 months. I didn't have to like share space with like a person that I didn't get along with, or just hear nagging. Like it was just so peaceful. And I just felt like I was that at that point was like the first time where I was really being consistent with my workouts. I was going to the gym about 45 times a week. It was the first time that I decided I'm gonna write down a workout plan and I'm just gonna follow it for like an 8-week period. And doing that really changed my perspective on fitness, because I realized how important it was to be consistent, not just in going to the gym, but to be consistent with your workouts. Like choose the workouts you want to do and do them consistently, and you will notice results. So that was great up until about June of 2021. I started working at a consulting firm, and I feel heavy when I talk about this because it was like such a dark time in my life, but it was an extremely toxic job for me. I was only there for like 7 months or like 8 months. I think I was there for less than a year. I was there from June of 2021 to the end of May of 2022, and it was like hell. Like I remember thinking like being in this job, in this situation, is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like this really felt, I remember telling my boyfriend like, this feels like I'm living my actual like nightmare. Like I never want to be in a job like that again. I would feel so anxious anytime I had to talk to my supervisor, and this was all, mind you, this was all a work from home job. So I was not only isolated from like social interaction, which I've realized now I need to thrive. Like I need to have social interaction, whether it's through work, whether it's through like my personal life. And at that point I was so depressed and stressed out from this job that I couldn't even enjoy hanging out with people outside of work and outside of work hours. And it really impacted my body. Like I went from like 130 pounds to like 168 in a matter of months. And it was such like a jarring change in my body, that not just in my body, but in my mental health. Like I went from being the happiest I'd been to like the worst I've ever felt in my life. It was like black and white. Like it was like night and day. It was just like, and in such a short span of time, I had no idea what to do with myself. I just remember thinking like, should I leave this job? Like I don't know, because it just felt like at that time, because it was 2020, I just felt like it was so hard to find a job, because companies were still trying to also figure out like how they were gonna handle the pandemic, and everything was just kind of like up in the air. And so I was just way too scared to leave the job, but at the same time I was suffering so much. And so by the end of May 2022, I just decided, after like literally thinking about it for months, I thought about it, I just decided like I need to leave this job. Like there was an incident that did kind of, it made me realize like I'm not in a good situation right now, and I need to leave this job. And so I just decided I'm gonna quit. I don't have any plans. I'm just gonna, mind you, I didn't have like a job lined up. I didn't even start applying to other jobs before I quit this job. That's how bad this job was. I was like, I would rather be broke than work this job. That's how bad that job is, and that's how bad it impacted my mental health. So I quit that job at the end of May 2022. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there about that job because that job was... So I quit at the end of May. By this point, my boyfriend and I had moved into the house that we live in now. So things were changing a little bit. There weren't any gyms near us that I have a membership to. And so I was having to like drive a little bit further to go to the gym, and so that kind of caused some inconsistencies. And at the same time, like, I was trying to find a job, and I remember when I quit that last job, I decided like I am gonna 100% put all of my energy into just, like, I guess fixing my mental health. Like, I don't want to think about food. I don't want to think negatively about my body. Like, I want to talk positively to myself. If I want to eat something, I'm just gonna eat it. If I'm like I just really wanted to be in a good mental health space. And so I basically allowed myself to physically let myself go a little bit so that I can fix my mental health, because I knew that if I didn't focus at that time on my mental health, that I was just never gonna like recover from, like, I guess, my traumas, and that it was just gonna end up impacting my physical health one way or another. And so I just decided, okay, I'm gonna focus on my mental health. I'm not gonna restrict what I eat. I'm gonna stop with the self-negative talk. I'm gonna stop doubting myself. Even if I don't fully believe it, like, I'm gonna tell myself, like, I'm like 100% capable. And oh my God, when I tell you, like, after, that was like the best thing I ever told myself in my life. Like, I spent the next 3 months with no job. I put no pressure on myself to work out. I put no pressure on myself to eat healthy. I put no pressure on myself to, like, find a job immediately. Don't get me wrong, I was applying, but I was also like, everything is gonna be okay if you don't get it. I was just so gentle with myself in a way that, like, I had never been in my entire life. And those couple of months before I ended up getting a new job just, like, completely shifted my aspect on myself. I felt like a new person after that. Like, I was able to see now, like, how hard I'd been on my body and just, like, myself, and just, like, it was like I could look at back at my old self and be like, I am so sorry that I did that to you. Like, that's what it felt like after, like, those 3 months of, like, basically what felt like rehab on like my mind. And anytime that I had, like, a negative thought about myself, I was like, redirect it. Like, if I was like, oh my God, I'm so dumb, I'd be like, no, you're not. Like, I would just redirect my thoughts to something positive. If I was having, like, negative thoughts about life, I would redirect myself to something positive. And I eventually, after doing this for, like, months and months and months and months, it just, like, trained my brain to just think completely different. And it was like a whole new person. And then by September, thank God, I had found another job, which is a current job that I have now, that I love what I do now for work. I love my coworkers. I love what I do for work. If you guys don't know, I major in environmental studies, and so I basically do work related to, like, the environment. And I'm just like, I am so, like, so incredibly grateful for, like, where I'm at right now. I can't even, I can't, like, I cry about it sometimes because I'm just so happy about where I'm at right now. But anyway, in September of 2021, I got a new job. 3 months after quitting my last job, fast forward to 2023, beginning of May of 2023, my brother opens up his gym. And I had no idea at the time, but this was also going to be a really big part of my fitness journey. It was just way closer to my house and way more accessible for me than the other gyms. And then also just having people like in the gym to support me was extremely helpful. And then that August of 2023, my boyfriend and I, Jesus and I, were gonna go on a trip to Japan, and I decided, you know what, I want to lose a little bit of weight for this trip. I had never really, like, I dabbled in tracking my macros, and you know, at this point, as you guys know, I had also dabbled in like writing down my workouts, like actually making and following a workout plan. And so I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna write a workout plan, I'm gonna track my macros, because I really want to lose a little bit of weight for this trip. So by July, I had planned a workout. I had written a workout plan that I was going to follow until August, which was when we were going to leave to Japan. And then I started to track my macros. I went from like 168 to about 159, which wasn't like a ton of weight, but I was like, this is the first time since gaining all of that weight that I had been able to lose weight. Then we went on our trip, and then we came back, and then a month later we went to London, and so I wasn't really staying on track. So all of 2023, I'm working a job that I love, I'm working on my mental health, I'm traveling. Now I've not only dabbled in like making my workout plan, but also really paying attention to how I'm eating and tracking my macros. Then the end of 2023 comes, and I decide like the next year is the year that I get on top of my physical health. I had spent by this point about a year and a half working on my mental health. I felt like I was in a really good spot. I'm happy, I'm at peace. I can finally say that I love my body, and I'm not doing all this negative self-talk. I'm not being toxic to myself. I'm just like in a good place mentally. I'm in a good place physically to now make the changes that I want to my body. So I decide, okay, beginning of February, I'm gonna write up a workout plan, and I am gonna follow essentially what would be a meal plan, but I'm just tracking my macros, and that's what I've been doing basically since February. So yeah, now I'm like 16 pounds down. I am so content now with where I'm at and where I'm going with my fitness journey, and I feel so much more like directed, and I feel so much healthier in general, like not just physically but like my mental health, and I'm in a really good spot right now. And that's why I just decided finally, again, after like years of just like not sharing anything online about it, I've just decided that I want to share my journey with you guys. And so yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys like my story, just so you guys kind of know like what my background has been, and I'm just excited to continue to share my journey with you guys. And yeah, I'll be making a video soon talking about like my weight loss journey specifically over the last 3.5 months. But yeah, I'm just so happy with where I'm at, and I can't wait to continue to share it with you guys and to share my journey with you guys. And that's kind of what this video was. I just wanted to talk a little bit to you guys about myself and who I am in terms of like my fitness. And so anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have questions, if you have comments, if you want to share your story or anything like that, just go ahead and share it down below. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you guys in my next video.